Alright, today I'm going to be changing an intake manifold, and before I start, what I want to stress about changing an intake manifold, which can seem like a horrid task, but it's really not all that bad. Before you would pull it, obviously you'd want to drain enough of the coolant that it's out of your radiator hoses, and preferably wait till your engine cools down, it's not real hot, to avoid scalding yourself. And also you have to pull the carburetor, and it's always nice to let your pressure bleed down. I just had to pull the truck up here, so all my fuel pressure's up and my engine's hot, so I'm going to give it a little bit before I work on it. But the first thing to address is you want to get your engine, because you have to pull your distributor, you want to get it to top dead center. Now how you do this, it's real simple without pulling the valve cover or pulling the plug and sticking your finger in there. For the compression stroke, you find where cylinder number 1 is, so it's right here. You follow the plug wire, and this would be the cylinder, and I believe I already have it pre-marked. So I can take my little cap off here. Oop. Gotta pull that off first. Not being very friendly. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're at cylinder 1, and I think I am a little past, so I'm going to take my wrench, turn the engine backwards. You want to make sure if you have an automatic transmission, you're in neutral, or if you have a manual, you're in neutral as well, obviously. So we're going to spin it back here. There's my timing mark. So we're lined up right there, and we can pull our distributor. We know right where everything's at. We're right at top dead center down there. So about 2 degrees off. So anyway, now you can start without having to worry that you're going to have your distributor out of time when you reinstall everything. So here we go. I'm going to get to taking stuff off. I'm going to take the distributor and the carb off first, so we'll check back in a bit. A quick note that I want to make when removing any wiring: you always want to take pictures or label. Everyone has a phone with a camera now, so at least do that. And I've taken pictures of these because I have quite a few wires going to my coil, so I know and I can keep them straight. It's not that big of a deal on a carbureted engine, but you still want to make sure everything's right, so I wanted to make a note of that. Pop bottle. This may seem minute, but I see many people struggle over it. When disconnecting any line, a lot of times they're stuck on there pretty good, and you know, it's not always the best to pull on them because that just kind of adds to the suction. But if you take a screwdriver, finger in the way, and you get behind it, generally if you work that around and break the seal all around, it'll come right off. And if not, you can take a knife and cut right along there and get the hose off. But you know, just because there might be fluid in the line, you know, and when you're pulling, it might never come off, or if it does, it might spray something in your eyes. So I want to make a note of that real quick, real minute, but I've seen many people struggle over that simple little item. Another thing I wanted to make a note of, once you get to this point, to take the intake manifold bolts out in reverse order of the pattern that they are installed. So I can't quite remember. So I have this book here, and if you rebuild a lot of small block Ford engines, this is a great book. Has a lot of really great tips. So anyway, back here is the intake manifold torque. There's the front of your engine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this says 8, but it's supposed to be a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you go from the outside in, basically, which makes sense, helps to prevent warping. And anyway, so I'm going to get to it. Here we go. Once you get all the bolts out, oftentimes the intake manifold takes some extra persuasion to get off. And I've found that about right here, prying off the block right next to the distributor, there it goes, helps bust the suction and you can get it right off. So if you have any problems with that, there's always, just find some place to pivot off of that's not aluminum and pop that baby right off. Once the intake manifold's off, I got the galley, some paper there so I don't get dirt down in the lifter area. But once you get the intake manifold off, be sure that you get all the gasket surfaces really clean. I'm going to go get some paint thinner, and I go around with paint thinner after I use a really good scraper to get those surfaces real smooth. If you don't remember anything that I've told you this whole time, that's what I hope you take away, because if you don't and anything's opened up, the results could be catastrophic. Passing gas into your oil, passing coolant into your oil, so which would cause an engine failure if not caught within a reasonable amount of time. So anyway, make note of that when you're doing your intake manifold, that you don't miss that, because I can't stress it enough how important that is on your intake manifold and your heads. Everything needs to be smooth and perfect. And if you have had your heads decked or planed or whatever you want to call it, you have to take your intake manifold in and get it counterplaned so it matches up right, or else you won't seal. Now, when you do put your gaskets on, I use only Felpro, I wouldn't use anything else. Be sure to put a light coat of gasket sealer around all the water jackets. You can do it around everything else, but it might obstruct flow, your fuel flow into your cylinders if it gets in the way. So I generally stick to just doing it around the ports, and then I let the gasket do the rest. But be sure to do that, because these they're known to leak if you don't. So, and also I use gasket sealer along here instead of the gaskets, because the gaskets that they send with you are notorious for leaking. So make a note of that when you're doing your intake. Basically, once you get to this point with your intake on, the rest is just simple reassembly. You might have to change a few things, like I need to remove this this little adapter deal because I don't need it anymore for my coolant. But pretty much at this point, you're good to go. Just straight reassembly. Remember where you attached all your wires to. The distributor, make sure you get that in right. I have another video of how to install that. I have another video of how to install the thermostat housing correctly, so I'll put the links to those in this video. But anywho, after that you're home free, so I'll get everything attached here and then check back for a final look. Alright, and there's the finished product, all back together again. Getting ready to start it in about 5 minutes, but my final statement is that make sure you get your bolts torqued down in the right pattern. And I looked up an aluminum intake and from Edelbrock, and Edelbrock suggests 15 to 25 foot-pounds. So, and not necessarily go the tightest. I did these all to 22. And the biggest thing that should be, the most important thing that should be done is to make sure that all the torque is the same on every bolt. So there shouldn't be like 22 here, 20 there. Go around and make sure. And then another thing, after the engine runs and comes up to operating temperature a few times, retorque the bolts because they'll get loose. I don't know why, but it happens, and I torque them once after I run it, and then they stay. They never get loose again. So there you have it. And the key to success is a record player playing Elvis. There you have it. Good luck.